get a little wild.
Wild and wacky.
Yeah, we're Porky and Wacky Land over here.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good Looney Tunes short. Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and with me here today, Kak. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Cack the Ripper, and yeah, I like watching movies. Too many movies, you could say. Yeah, aside from that, I guess I'm what you'd call an acquaintance of Hal. I've known him for about, I want to say a year and a half via Discord, and for a couple months now, we've been talking about doing an episode together, and yeah, here I am, in the flesh. So, all right.
I'm such an idiot. Cack the Ripper. Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Flew over your head before, huh?
Yeah, it's r/whoosh on my part.
Yeah, r/whoosh. Yeah. All right. So, I don't know how you wanna start us off here.
I do, yeah. Well, with a little announcement. So recently I tried to go to Bull Moose again because I was like, I feel like going to Bull Moose. Bull Moose, for those who are unaware, that's the store that's in the main New Hampshire area where I've gotten a ton of movies from. I think it's safe to say the bulk of the collection is from Bull Moose exclusively. Like, obviously, here and there I've gotten movies from like Amazon, Target, the occasional house I've broken into. Just kidding. But I would say like the majority of the movies I've gotten have come from Bull Moose. The usual Bull Moose location I go to, I'm not going to say which one because, well, actually, if I say this,
you don't want to fucking dox yourself. Yeah,
I guess I am kind of doxing myself because it's the one that closed. So whatever that one was, it's no longer there. I missed it by about 2 days. Like, I went up to the door because I don't follow them on social media. I just went up to the door and it says, "Hey, our last day was May 18th." And I'm like, wait, today's May 20th.
Were you aware that they were closing down beforehand, or you were just like, you showed up and you're like, what the fuck?
I showed, it was like in like some sort of thriller movie where a character goes to a store and then they like leave and then they come back and that store was never there. It's like something out of the Twilight Zone, really.
Yeah. Man, I could have sworn that store was there.
Yeah. So, well, needless to say, obviously there are other locations. So I went to I went to the second closest one, which was like 45 minutes, an hour away. So I went there today. I got some pretty cool shit there. I added Training Day, Old Boy, and Transformers the movie to the collection. So those are ones that I didn't own. Well, I did own Training Day because on DVD I upgraded to a Blu-ray, but Transformers the movie and Old Boy I upgraded, or I bought finally. So now those are in the collection. I got
one of them. One of them's a certified hood classic. The other is Old Boy.
Yeah, exactly. I got the Old Boy that we talked about on the podcast. I got the Old Boy that we talked about on the podcast. The one.
Is that the one with the octopus?
That's the one with the octopus. It's the one with the octopus and the essay written by David Sims. I was like, I have to get it. So I haven't read the essay yet. I'll get to it, but right now we're too busy doing an episode today, so let's get into your movies. Enough about the other movies, and let's talk about your movies today, Cac, that you wanted to talk about. Introduce the first one you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so first movie we're going to be talking about is Scarface, the 1983 version, directed by Brian De Palma, written by Oliver Stone, and starring Al Pacino. I guess right off the bat, what I want to say about this movie, I guess you could say it's a nice, wholesome little picture about a regular guy who makes it big. And also there's brutal murders of gangsters and people say fuck a lot. But so yeah, fun for the whole family, I guess you could say.
Yeah. It's a real Pacino episode today.
Yeah, two Pacinos.
Two Pacinos.
Um, two Pacinos for the price of one.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, Scarface is one of those, film classics I've heard so much about over the years, and this was my first time officially watching it.
Yeah, same
Con-
here. Same
controversial
here.
opinion, pretty good. So
Yeah.
I will say I have some hangups, but nothing not to say that this was like disappointing. I just wasn't expecting what I got. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think I'm in a relatively similar boat here. Like, judging from this movie's, I guess, general reputation when it comes to, pop culture and the zeitgeist in general, like, for years and years, I was thought or made to thought that this was like, a fucking balls to the wall, crazy action, guys getting, fucking eviscerated. And to be fair, there is a fair bit of that, but
Absolutely.
no, this is by and large a movie that does take its time, sort of setting everything up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. What are your thoughts when it comes to this?
Yeah, so I
Uh,
was expecting this to be this coked out, maniacal, crazy film because that's the exact
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I've heard for
that's
years.
right.
Which, to be fair, we kind of do get that with Pacino's
Yeah,
performance, but honestly, I think he's even crazier in Heat, which we'll get to. But
right. Right.
he does. Pacino is easily the highlight of this film. Obviously,
Mhm, for
it's one
sure.
of those films that it didn't really put him on the map. He was already
Yeah,
on the map at this point,
yeah.
but it further cemented him as being Al fucking Pacino, as opposed to just Al Pacino. This is no Al
No,
fucking
Al
Pacino.
fucking Pacino. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and I'm not talking
all
about the fact
cap.
that everybody says fucking in this movie. They do, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's an iconic performance.
yeah. Like, there's a reason why Tony Montana has persisted as long as he has,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is due to just Pacino from like the way he talks, the way he dresses, you know, just the way he composes himself, and all of that stuff. So, I don't know. Do you want to like go over sort of the history of this movie's development? Because I was kind of looking over it, and there are some interesting tidbits on how this movie got made in the first place.
Sure,
I
yeah.
guess.
If what any notes you
Yeah, yeah.
have, I'm willing to coast off those.
All right, sure. Okay, so well, for first off, for those who don't know, this is actually a remake of a 1930s
I did know
gangster
that.
movie. Yeah, it was directed by Howard Hawks. Um, it was loosely based off sort of what Al Capone was doing in Chicago around late 20s, early 30s, sort of his criminal empire, and by and large, to my understanding, both the old and 83 version kind of follow the same basic struggle. Guy comes to the US, he seeks the American dream, and it kind of just follows the sort of basic classic rise and fall narrative. So obviously,
Classic gangster story for sure.
yeah, the
Yes.
classic gangster story. Yeah, for sure. But anyways, Al Pacino, he was obviously a big fan of the original, and he was like, "Hey, we should remake this." So he went around to a couple people, brought it up to a couple producers in Hollywood, as you do,
Mhm.
for making a movie. So eventually, they were kind of thinking about like, hey, do we want to make this more like a period piece? Um, but then the Mariel boat lift happened, where a bunch of, Cuban immigrants came over to the United States, which when we get into the movie, we can talk about. But so yeah, from there, eventually they got Oliver Stone on to write. He, of course, would later go on to direct Platoon and a couple other movies. Like JFK, I've heard pretty good things about, and just
Yeah, Stone is
stuff
one of
like
those
that.
filmmakers I haven't truly delved into, but I'm aware
Yeah, me
of.
neither. Yeah, it's definitely something I might want to check out in the near future. But
Yeah. I mean,
let
same
me
with De
just,
Palma.
yeah. Well, Brian De Palma, I'm actually kind of familiar with his filmography more. I've actually dipped my feet a little into his movies, and I gotta say, from what I've seen, I kind of dig his style. Generally, I think overall he has a great knack for making these like very tense little scenes and then following them up with these like big, sort of explosive, um moments. I guess you could say.
Yeah. He's definitely a
Yeah, yeah,
director I need to check out more of because
right,
I
yeah.
have only seen 3 films from him. This is included. The other films I've seen from him are Carrie, which I wasn't into as much, and
Hmm.
Sisters, which I thought I was into, and then I watched more of it and I was like, "Oh, this sucks actually."
Oh.
uh
Yeah. What
it,
have I seen from
I
him?
mean, it looks
I
like
think,
he has other stuff that I would
yeah,
probably enjoy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen more or less the same stuff. Carrie, obviously, I really enjoy the original Mission Impossible, which I was kind of surprised initially that he directed that. I was like, what? Brian De Palma directed that? But
Hmm.
then when you watch that movie, you're like, okay, yeah, this is the same guy who made all of these other, kind of Hitchcock inspired sort of things, because it's a very, very similar to this movie where it's like can be very, very tense, a lot of dramatic zoom ins and
Hmm.
shit like that,
Yeah.
But I don't know. So I don't know. Do you want to just get right into talking about the movie?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I feel
let's.
like there's
I don't.
plenty to talk about with the actual
Yeah, yeah,
film.
yeah, sure. Right. All right. So why don't you just take it away, and I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, so again, like we said, it's a pretty standard gangster story of guy wants wealth and all that sort of jazz and so,
Power and yeah,
power, and so then he turns to a life of crime and hijinks ensue. um,
it's a
and
little
it's
wacky,
a little
you
wacky.
know,
He's a little
little wacky.
quirky.
Yeah.
Let's start with the titular Scarface, that being Tony Montana. He is. It's funny because last episode I talked about Raging Bull, which is another
Yeah.
film that stars a psychotic main character, but unlike other gangster films, even though Raging Bull is not a gangster film, but I feel like gangster films are the perfect films to have psychotic main characters.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised by the ruthlessness and just straight up horrible
Yeah, he's a
portrayal
fucking asshole.
in Raging Bull. Yeah. And here
Yeah.
it's the same thing, but I feel like this is more so what I was talking about when I was saying Raging Bull, how Jake LaMotta was kind of this. He's worse than any other gangster I've ever seen, because at least with Tony Montana, he's kind of the same thing because he is a horrible, horrible man, but he's wildly entertaining to watch. Like,
Yeah, uh, when I was watching the movie, I kind of had in like the back burner in my head. It was kind of like yeah, he is obviously a despicable, awful piece of shit, but there's an endearing charm to him.
yeah,
And he's always the movie always frames it like he's the butt of the joke in a sense. Like he's always getting himself into more trouble than he needs to be. He's always everyone around him obviously doesn't want him there, but he always has this. And again, this is largely due to Al Pacino's performance, he has like this really specific sort of charisma to him that you just can't, keep your eyes off him.
Yeah.
Like
Like the first half, he's this I don't give a fuck about anything kind of guy.
yeah,
Like
right.
every scene, it even gets the attention of.
I'd argue he's like that for the entire movie,
Well, yeah,
personally. But
but
yeah.
I feel like the second half, yes, he still has that kind of swagger to him where he's just all I don't give a fuck. But you do start to see more anxiety in him because he has
Yeah,
achieved so much power and he does not want to give any of it up.
yeah. And he's also coked out of his mind,
That
so
too. That
there's
also
that.
helps. And
Yeah.
that it doesn't help.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to think. What did you think of the supporting cast generally?
So I guess we can start with Michelle Pfeiffer, who I guess this was
Yeah.
kind of her breakout role. She was obviously in
I mean,
stuff before,
like
but this is what put
Grease
her. This
2.
yeah, Grease 2. Yeah, everybody loves Grease 2.
Yeah. My God, all I can remember of that fucking movie is that god awful song about sexual reproduction or whatever.
Being sung by
God,
30-year-olds pretending to be teenagers. Yeah, that was
yes,
awesome.
that was awesome.
Anyway,
Fuck all other movies. Grease 2 is where it's at.
Grease 2 is where it's at. It's from 1982, so.
Yeah. Uh,
But
all
all
right.
right, so this is the movie that put Michelle Pfeiffer on the map. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know. I wasn't really feeling her. She's one of those characters. I was just like, okay, I see what they're going with. They're not doing anything more than that. She's just she's the typical female lead of the gangster film where
Yeah.
she's supposed to be the semi voice of reason, but also part of their.
Woman character.
Well, so the woman
Yeah.
character, when I think
Yeah.
of the woman character in a gangster film or gangster
Yeah.
setting, I think of what's her face from Jennifer Melfi. No, what's the actress's name in Goodfellas?
Oh, Lorraine Bracco.
Lorraine Bracco's character in
Yeah. Yeah.
Goodfellas. I said her character from The Sopranos, but so
Uh,
Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas, she kind of starts off as the sympathetic wife character, but she also
yeah.
does kind of
Yeah. She's kind of
she
kind of in on
reinforces.
it.
Yeah, she's in
Yeah.
on it. She reinforces this behavior, so then it kind of keeps going. Same thing in The Sopranos. Carmela Soprano, she's trying her best to be the morally superior person opposed to Tony, but she herself also still reinforces her power as Tony Soprano's wife. Uh there are exceptions to that character, and I feel like that's what Michelle Pfeiffer's trying to be. This character who does profit off the misery of those who have suffered at the hands of Tony Montana, the main gangster, but I feel as though I don't know, obviously she doesn't like that she's profiting off of the misery
Yeah.
of others, but I don't know,
And I feel like
she doesn't really do anything about that. She's just
yeah.
kind of a drug addict at the end of the day, which I know that's the
Yeah.
point,
Kind of.
but they don't really
Yeah.
develop that anymore. He's just like, you're a junkie, and
Yeah.
she's just like, fuck you, and that's the end of it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I know. And I feel like just generally she's kind of sidelined.
Very much
In
so.
especially in the second half, we're kind
Oh
of made
yeah.
to focus on like just Tony's shenanigans and stuff, which is
Because
fine.
because at
He's the main
first
character, but
yes, she is the character that Tony's going after, and
yeah,
she at first is
she
just
it
like, I'm not interested in you, and he's like, oh, she totally digs me, which I guess is
yeah.
funny, but then she
Yeah.
does
Well,
end up going for
it's
him.
just to go on a sideline, even though her character overall, I mean, it's not bad, but
Mm-mm.
could have been better. But
Yeah.
there's this one line in particular that I do kind of want to quote there when they're in the club, when he's first trying to make his move and stuff. And the dialogue exchange between them, it was so fucking funny. I had to write it down when he's like, you look like you haven't fucked in a year or whatever. And then she's like, even if I were blind, desperate, starved, and begging for it on a desert island, you'd be the last guy I'd ever fuck. Like, that's the kind of stuff I was kind of hoping for
and then
going forward.
And then it hard cuts to him in the car, and he's just like,
yeah,
he totally
like,
digs me.
Oh fuck! I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, the hard cut is what makes that even.
The hard
funnier.
cut is incredible.
Also, her name is Elvira, and I was like, haha, big titted goth haired lady.
Yeah.
Which was distracting, but also
right, yes.
But there are other characters besides her. There is Manny, his second in command, who I thought was really cool that there was like a second in command, and I like his.
Yeah,
I
like, forget the actor's name,
Stephen
but
Bauer or Bauer.
Yeah, Stephen Bauer,
something like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him personally. I thought he was, aside from Pacino. He was by far like the highlight of the movie. Like every scene,
he was definitely more sympathetic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So granted, he's the one that gets shot in the end,
right?
Which, by the way, his death scene. I know that's jumping ahead a bit, but honestly, I love that it happened in the way that it did because it was so thematically rich.
A fucking zoom in, and the music just going like, dude, like that sting up to it. When
the camera was panning towards Pacino's eyes, I was like, please let Pacino shoot him. And then he shot him. I was just like, yes. All right, this movie gets it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Hooray for Misery.
Well, just to go on a little, again, not to go on another, side tangent, but I feel like there's just so much to talk about this movie. What did you think of the cinematography overall?
I mean, like, it was drenched in the 80s. I feel like this is one of those movies that is often romanticized as, oh, the 80s were neon and synthwave and all that kind of stuff.
Like, it definitely has that aesthetic to it. Like, there's the one scene where he's, at the payphone and, like, the sky is all like orange. Yeah, the sunset.
Yeah, no,
so like at the dock. Yeah,
I was like thinking like, oh, it's definitely not going to be that. But then I watched it. I'm like, okay, now I know why that's a stereotype. It's because of a movie. It's because of movies like this, which is all. I'm all for it though. But even just that, the way the camera moves, how it'll move.
Like one scene in particular, near the very beginning, when the riots are going on, like at the camp, like how the camera like starts off like there's like cop cars and like news reporters everywhere, and then it slowly pans to the left and we see like all of the people with like bats and shit, and they're just like going to town. Like that's cool.
The opening interrogation scene where it's circling around them, that's fantastic because it's all one take. Or I think there's a couple cuts in there, but a lot of
it's really subtle. It's really subtle.
Yes, exactly. Which
I'd argue even sorry to cut you off, but I'd argue even like the opening credits really set the mood for the rest of the movie. Like you got
the stock footage of the Cuban immigrants coming in.
Like that. You don't really see that from movies from this era, so immediately it's like, okay, this is what the movie's going for. But I don't know. I really dug it personally.
I just wanted to mention with the interrogation scene because I didn't take many notes. Because I was just I tried taking notes with Heat. I was just so enveloped with Heat that I just took zero notes. But with Scarface, I did remember to write this down. I instantly recognized the voice of one of the immigration officers at the beginning. I was like,
oh, you do?
That sounds like the main villain of the Muppet movie, Charles Durning. And then it panned up to his face. I'm like, that's not Charles Durning. And then I looked up the cast list on Letterboxd. Turns out he did uncredited voiceover work for that one character.
You're fucking kidding me.
So I was correct. I instantly recognized his voice. I'm like, that's Charles fucking Durning.
I mean, did they just ADR his voice?
I don't know.
And they're like, why the
I don't know.
Fuck would they do that?
I looked it up. I tried researching it. It was just like, did you know Charles Durning did some uncredited voiceover work for Scarface? I'm like, okay, why though? It's like he did uncredited voice. I don't care that. Like, I already know he did it because I recognized his voice. Tell me why.
I mean, I could understand if he was like, a guy Tony was, like making a deal with over the phone. Like that makes sense. But no, this is an actual character we see who's played by a different actor. Like what? What the fuck?
I just don't understand. Apparently Dennis Franz did some voiceover for another immigration officer. So it's just like, okay, were the immigration officers just really terrible actors that they
like maybe they had like
them over?
Like they had like maybe it was like a David Prowse Darth Vader situation. They were just like, where'd you get that scar from? Eating pussy? Yeah.
Where'd you get that scarf from? Eating pussy? Was that good, Brian? And Brian's just like,
no, that was fucking terrible.
That was fucking terrible.
Dubbing you over.
That's it. I'm getting the Muppet movie villain. That was the one thing. That was the one thing I took notes on because it was the one thing. Because again, I had to mention the Muppet movie villain. So,
I guess when we're talking about aesthetics and stuff, like one thing that I kind of observed, I guess you could say, is like, yes, it is a movie that is very, very 80s, but at the same time, I kind of got a little bit of 70s energy from it. I don't know. It's weird. I guess it's just...
It is the early 80s, so like some of those 70s influences were probably still there. It takes a while for a decade to truly die, right. So I can understand that.
For sure. Yeah, like... It was a transitional period,
yes,
for Hollywood at that time. But I actually wrote this down. I was thinking in my head, like, what's a good way of describing like the visual style in this movie? And what I wrote down was this movie is like a big, ugly piece of shit smeared in gallons of glitter, but that piece of shit is also kind of charming in its own disgusting way, because definitely there's parts where this movie has like that griminess to it. It really goes into like, sort of the criminal underbelly in Miami, but at the same time, as you described it does have like that 80s atmosphere and aesthetic with all of the clubs and the sunset and all of the the music and the clothes and all that stuff. So I don't know.
It very much did remind me a lot of Raging Bull, where it is just straight up misery the whole movie. But unlike Raging Bull, where that misery is reflected in the visuals, where nothing looks fun, there is that kind of 80s wackiness in this movie that kind of covers it up. And I guess that's where this idea that this is such a fascinatingly crazy and wacky movie comes from, is because of that.
Honestly, I think just the aesthetics kind of carry it all the way through. Not that the movie itself is bad or anything. I think there is.
So yeah, I want to make it clear, when you're doing a movie about a gangster as vile as Tony Montana, yes, I think the story reflects it perfectly, because it is about this piece of shit, this paranoid piece of shit rising in power, and the kind of consequences that come from him having that much power. So the movie takes that very seriously, and that's a good thing. Again, I think the reason I'm just a little put off by that is because I was expecting this wacky 80s movie from that. I think upon rewatch, now that I understand what the movie's going for, I can definitely appreciate it more. Because even then, I'm not opposed to any of the decisions it makes. I'm not the biggest fan of Michelle Pfeiffer's character, but that doesn't mean she ruins the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I think you and me, we kind of share the same general opinions, I'd say. Like, there are aspects of this movie that don't entirely click with us, but at the same time, like, it has a lot, going for it.
The things that people like about it, I like about it too.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of things.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, okay. Speaking of things people like, what's your thoughts on the Marauder score?
Ooh, the music.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh,
Giorgio Moroder.
Very good. Giorgio. Okay.
Giovanni Jojo.
No, I was just saying he's Italian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. No, excellent. I love the
Yes.
Italians.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, no, the music, oh my god, so good. Like not even just the soundtrack, which the soundtrack is full of that trashy 80s
Yeah.
pop, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah. I'm a
Uh,
sucker for it too, man.
I will say the one song that didn't fit, ironically enough, was the one song I was expecting. You know, the "Push It to the Limit" song.
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
very
the montage.
that's the
The
most
montage.
famous song
Yeah.
from this movie, because and I knew about it because you know it does encompass that stereotypical 80s synthwave
Yeah, it's like the
that we see a lot in modern day, where it's just like the
yeah.
80s synthy.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
hell
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Radical.
Radical, exactly. And
Yeah.
it plays in that. I don't. Have you ever seen that Simpsons couch gag where Homer, uh, is riding the couch, and it's like supposed to be this Miami Vice '80s buddy cop
No,
TV
I don't
show?
think so. But
Oh,
I get where you're going. It's like
yeah,
it's encompassing that
yeah. That
essentially.
song
Yeah.
plays in it. Whereas, and I was expecting the song in this because it's like, oh, it comes from Scarface. It's like, oh, that must be really cool. I really didn't like its inclusion in the movie. I thought it was
Oh,
really
really?
awkward because
I don't know.
the montage is edited much like the rest of the movie, kind of slow, monotonous, intentionally
I don't
so.
know. I mean, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, but I think at the same time, what you know, De Palma is able to do with like the editing and stuff, like you have that bit where the money's going through the I don't know what the cash counter
Yeah, the cash
thing,
counter thing. Yeah, yeah.
and it kind of like zooms in and it hard cuts to like I don't know. I think there's enough clever filmmaking techniques to carry it,
I
and
think
I don't know.
the scenes that it
Yeah,
has within that montage, I'm a big fan of, like going to
yeah,
all these
like
different locations with the
um,
money, the
yeah,
tiger at
like
the wedding.
Tony. Oh yeah, the tiger. Yeah, Tony the Tiger.
Hey,
Guess you could say it's a great scene.
it's a great
Well,
film.
great film. Yeah, but
What's the nostalgia
yeah,
critic
like
Tony the Tiger skit? He's just like, they're full of sugar. I don't know what the fuck. It's the one where they had like somebody's fursuit. I don't know if you remember
oh,
that
oh,
skit where they were parodying a bunch of Frosted Flake commercials.
wasn't like Malcolm Tony or
He
I
might
don't
have been. It
know.
might have been. I
Yeah,
think it was. I think it was because because
yeah.
Malcolm is a furry and they had this fursuit. I'm like, I kind of put two and two together there. But no, I love that skit because at the beginning when they're parodying like the mean kids and they have one of them go up to Tamara and they're just like, hey hey kid, sad your parents died in a car accident. I die laughing at that every time. It's so funny. Sorry,
That's great.
that was
Yeah,
our mandatory nostalgia critic mention
yeah,
in the episode.
yeah, yeah. We gotta pay respects to the Dougster.
The Dougster. The
The Dougster.
Dougster.
The Dougster.
Sorry, we were
Um,
talking about Scarface.
yes, yeah. But yeah, no. I generally like the montage overall. Like,
Mhm.
I think there's enough to carry it with. Again, like you're saying, like the scenes it does show with like Tony buying out all his own businesses and him getting married to Elvira and him getting the tiger. Like, yeah, I think it's appropriate enough. So it
Mhm.
wasn't really that big of a turnoff for
I
me, but
I
if
think
it was for you,
I think
yeah.
I just prefer it in that Simpsons couch gag because that Simpsons couch gag is much more faster paced and edited more
All
quicker.
right.
So because
Yeah.
it's
I
such a
mean, it kind
fast
of
paced
has to be.
song, it's such a fast paced song. I feel like you need
Yeah.
faster visuals to accompany it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's fair. Um.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. I guess we can talk about like the basic plot now. Like we've kind of touched on it, but are there any like particular moments, scenes that stuck out to you?
I did like seeing. I mean, I would say several scenes of just seeing Tony's cockiness working to his benefit towards the beginning when he's
Yeah.
impressing impressing people like Frank and Alejandro. Um,
Yeah.
just to get on their good side, and kind of showing off how much of a weasel Omar, played by F. Murray Abraham. I was like, oh shit, that's F. Murray Abraham. Like, I was really excited to see him. This was a year before Amadeus, but still. And
Okay.
yeah, I was really, you were kind of rooting for Tony at that moment. But then
Yeah.
later in the film, there's the scenes where they go to New York and they're planting the bomb on the whistleblower's car,
Oh yeah.
and that's when he sees the wife and children get in the car, and that's when Tony's like, all right, this is where I draw the line. But
Yeah.
what's his
Yeah.
name, the assistant Shadow, I guess he's
Yeah.
credited as.
Mark Margolis,
Yes,
who was Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad, which I know I don't think you have
I
seen
still
yet.
haven't seen Breaking Bad. That's the one.
Oh man,
I know
dude,
it's the.
you gotta get on it.
I
You
do
gotta
gotta
get
get
on.
on it. I know I've seen The Sopranos because now I'm the Sopranos guy, but I need to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
Breaking Bad because
yeah.
it is this.
Become one of us.
I'll watch it after The
Become one
West
of
Wing.
us.
I'll watch it after The West Wing. Don't worry.
All right, all right.
But anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
but yeah, it was a nice surprise.
But
I guess for you it was that one actor, but for me it was like, hey, Mark Margolis.
yeah, no, it was cool to see
Yeah,
because he's a very good
yeah,
actor.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, he was still gonna go ahead with bombing the
yeah, yeah,
car, and Tony was just like, no, and he shoots the guy, which
yeah,
it just shows, like, you do gotta commend Tony for having a line that he doesn't want to
yeah,
cross, but at the same time, even though he's not willing to cross that line, he's still willing to do so much other fucked up shit behind that line. Like, he'll still shoot the guy in the car in the middle of New York City in broad daylight and just be like, no, no kids, no kids. And you're just like, all right, dude. And then that does end up biting him in the ass in the end, which
yeah,
is kind of ironic. He didn't kill any children, which was the
yeah. And
wrong
it's
thing to do.
that one, yeah,
Um,
that one little thing. Well, really, at I kind of want to get to the climax later.
sure.
I guess we can talk about the aspects that sort of build up to it.
Can we talk about the restaurant scene? I was
Ooh,
a big fan of that.
ooh, yeah, the restaurant. I'd say even the bathtub scene.
Sure. Yeah, the
I
bathtub
think both
scene,
of those
which goes into the restaurant scene.
complement
Yeah,
each other.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty
first of
well.
all,
Yeah,
bathtub in your bedroom, and which, okay, yes.
you're
If I
fucking smoking cigars,
No,
and you
listen.
got a
If I was
TV.
that rich, I would absolutely be smoking cigars, smoking stogies in a bathtub that's like 20 times the size of me in the middle of my bedroom, no less. I would absolutely do. I would have bubble baths every day. I would not have a TV that small on the other side of my 20-foot fucking
Yeah,
pool
man, I'd
bathtub.
I'd get a fucking plasma.
Yeah,
Like even in the '80s, you could get like a fucking
you could get
50 inch
yeah, you could get pretty
or
big. You
yeah,
couldn't
pretty
get
big.
the
Yeah,
size TVs that we have today, but you could get
obviously,
you could get fairly
yeah,
big TVs back in the
yeah.
80s.
Like even in what the hell is his name? Uh the gangs Sosa, when he goes
Sosa.
to Sosa's mansion
Yeah.
and he's got like the
Oh,
TV
yeah,
painting.
he's got like the
Yeah, yeah.
Hank Scorpio TV painting like at the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in his house. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um so yeah, like why the fuck did he just settle for a shitty CRT? He could
Yeah.
have gotten like $100 off the street from a yeah,
Basically,
like
what I'm saying is this movie
yeah,
sucks. 0 out of 10. I hate it so much. I'm getting rid of this
yeah,
Blu-ray.
yeah. Fucking burn it, man. Fucking burn it.
I'll turn this into an ornament. So,
Yeah.
but no. So with that scene, yes, that's the scene where he is kind of losing the respect. I mean, he's already pretty much lost the respect of Elvira.
Yeah.
Did he even have respect for Elvira in the first place?
I
I doubt it.
mean, maybe for like
For like a split second.
when they were fucking in bed,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
But yeah, then maybe. But then again, we don't really see that, so
But that is definitely
to
the scene
interpretation.
where
Yeah.
Manny loses respect for him, I would say.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like, I mean, in that scene alone, like he's already, calling out Elvira and like, saying shit like, why don't you get a fucking job? All you do is snort coke. Like, dude, that's what you're fucking doing.
Yeah.
You're just sitting on your ass, just, you know.
It's true. No, he's true.
He's
He's just as much a junkie as her. But at least he goes
exactly.
out
Yeah.
and kills people.
Right.
Like, that's his job,
Yeah.
killing
Yeah.
people.
Does cool gangster shit. Yeah.
Does cool
Yeah.
gangster shit.
Cool.
But yeah, so then that leads into the restaurant scene, which that's when the big blow up happens between
Yeah.
Elvira and Tony.
Yeah.
And what I love is that it could have just ended with that. It could have just ended with her walking away and Tony just being like, whatever, man. But then it does.
He talks back to all the people
looking
and he
at
fucking
him.
loses it.
That's when it's like built up, and his rage that kind of has been building up since the very beginning. Like he's just finally able to just be like, you know, what are you guys
That's another
looking at?
thing I kind of appreciate of this movie. I'm sure this analogy has been used over and over again, but in a way, this movie is kind of like one big coke trip.
Yeah.
Like, it has ups and downs. Like, you have scenes where, you know, Tony is, you know, a little on edge, but relatively, you know, he's making, you know, good conversations. He's, you know, making deals, stuff like that. But other times, he's on top of the world. He's, you know, got everything he ever wanted. But other times, like, he's just fucking, you know, a loose cannon. You know, he's killing guys. He's, you know, pushing everyone away, physically, verbally abusing them. And just, it's, then there's scenes where he's just, you know, sitting in his room just all by himself, like he is truly alone. You know, and I think the way the movie juxtaposes those scenes, yet still like tonally remains consistent. Like, I think that's really a testament.
And what I love about the restaurant scene, the monologue especially, is how he's just like, what the fuck are you looking at? Like, you think I'm a piece of shit? It's like, at least I don't lie. And it truly, he's truly not lying. That's the thing with the character, is he's a scuzzbag, but he's never lied.
But he's an honest.
He has
like an earned. Yeah. Like, he has, like I was saying earlier, like, he has this charm and charisma despite being a fucking deplorable individual.
He understands that he's a piece of shit, which doesn't make it any better, but you do
at the same time
it makes it like more interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, and I kind of like even like the little things, like all of the people in the restaurant, they kind of just like, after like he storms out of there, they kind of just look at themselves like, fuck, is he right?
Did that just happen?
Like, am I? Yeah, that just happened. Sorry, I had to.
No, but it's true.
To do it.
It's true though. No. That's literally what everybody's thinking when he walks away. I mean, how could you not think that when you're trying to have a nice dinner out and some crazy man is yelling at the top of his lungs at you, this stranger that you've never met, just calling you a piece of shit. You're just like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. But at the same time, it sticks with you. It kind of just goes into you, and it's just left to, you know, linger there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, no, I love it so much. I love that monologue scene. It truly made this it truly made the movie more unique for me.
Absolutely.
I appreciated.
Yeah. Just a great scene overall. Also, remind me after we're done recording us, I do got to show you this edit of the bubble bath, which shows him with a little. Okay, so when I gotta ask, when you were a kid, did you ever have like one of those Lego boats?
Lego,
like, you know, like you would build it and you could put the boat in like the bath or water or whatever, and like
I never mixed Legos in the bath. I always kept Legos were not a bath toy.
Yeah, me neither. But they made like specific sets for like actual like toy boats, but you could like build on them.
I'm trying to remember. I think I did have like Sesame Street characters, like these little Sesame Street action figures, and those were like my bath toys. Listen, it's been forever since I've taken a bath, so I don't remember the bath toys.
Yeah, I don't know. But the reason I bring it up is right after I watched the movie, coincidentally enough, I got a post where it's Tony in with a little Lego bath, and he's like, it's the scene where he's like, "Who made this? Me! I made this!" And yeah,
That's
it's
big.
just him in the bath with the Lego boat, and that's, I don't know, that made me smile.
I need to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can track it down. But yeah, I don't know.
Do we want to get into
I
the
guess we
climax?
kind of no. I think we got to talk about let's talk about Tony's family. I think we've kind of been looking
Ooh.
over that because those scenes are probably some of my other favorites.
They definitely caught me
from the
off
movie.
guard because
Yeah.
at the beginning he's just like, "No, man, all my family's dead," and I instantly believed him. I'm just like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah, no.
because he is an immigrant.
then-
he's coming to the new
Right, right.
country, but then he
Yeah.
meets his mom and his sister, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, dog."
Yeah. Well, I think another interesting thing is during the opening interrogation, like he mentions he had a dad
Mhm.
who was from like America, and he like showed him like all of these like, you know, John Wayne, James Cagney movies, like, you know, class. For all we know, he could have seen the original Scarface. Yeah, kind of a interesting little food for thought there. But I think it does a good job, like sort of reinforcing the idea that he's, you know, looking at these movies and thinking like, oh, America must be like this. All I got to do is kill some guys and I'll make it big, you
Yeah.
know. But and then the reality check happens, and then all shit goes down from there. But yeah, like him just going to the house and, you know, meeting his mom and his sister, who for all we know haven't seen him in years. Like, I think that's a really interesting moment.
I like the dichotomy between the mother and the sister and how they react to him, not just when he first arrives, but how they treat him for the rest of the movie. Because
absolutely, like
Mama Montana
Yeah.
does not like him, which is
Yeah.
really fucked up. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I completely sympathize with her when she has Tony fucking
absolutely.
Montana
Like,
as
if
a
my
son.
son was like that, I'd fucking disown him
Yeah.
personally. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, yeah, you can see that, like, you know, when he offers her the money and she's like, no, this is like blood money.
Yeah.
I'm not taking this shit, which
Yeah.
all power to her.
Yeah.
The
She
right thing
takes
to
a
do.
stance, and that
Yeah,
you gotta respect that.
But at the same time, you can, like, through her performance, you can kind of see like
It hurts
that it hurts her. Like, she desperately wanted her son to get on the right path,
Mhm.
but he just got lost.
Yeah.
You know,
and she doesn't want
that's like
the
a really-
sister to go down the same
Yeah,
path.
she doesn't
And
want Gina
ironically
to-
enough, neither does he. He doesn't want his sister going down the same path, because then
Yeah.
there's the scene where the next time we see her, she's at the club, the Babylon club.
Oh yeah,
And that's
when... another great zoom in on the eyes.
Dude, the zoom in on the eyes. So good.
Yeah, man.
And then because then his sister's just like, whatever, man. I want to go to the club. I want to fuck whoever I want to fuck. And you're just like, oh, dude.
Not a little kid anymore,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Which, again, he goes to extremes. I get it, but he does go to extremes to, like, be like, no, you know,
right,
because he tries to beats the shit out of the guy.
Assaults a man in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, and then he goes to the ultimate extreme at the end, which, like we said, when he goes to Manny's house, Manny has been sleeping with his sister. He immediately doesn't even say a word, just shoots Manny straight. Shoots
he
his
just walks
partner.
in the door like, "Hey, Gina, what's up?"
Yeah.
And then Marauder score, dude, zoom in.
Yeah.
Blast his brains out. You know? Yeah.
Without even a second thought. Doesn't even say anything to Manny. His second in command for years.
Yes.
Just shoots him on the spot.
Best friend. His best friend.
Like,
he doesn't even.
Brutal.
Yeah, he's just so fucking paranoid.
Yeah.
And just so fucking out of it. He just doesn't even hesitate. Like,
and
that.
I love
that scene is brilliant.
I love how then, because through all this manipulation, all this control, it just completely breaks his sister. So at the end, she has a mental breakdown and tries to shoot him while trying to offer herself up. It's just like, you're so uncomfortable during that scene. Yeah, fuck me, Tony.
Fuck me, Tony. I was like, oh god.
It's so
and like
gross.
her blouse is like
yeah,
open. Like you can almost see her tits. But
yeah, it's so gross.
Yeah, like it's so gross.
But intentional.
And then it doesn't even matter because a fucking guy comes through the window and fucking blasts.
When the guy blasted, like, shot her like what 17 times, I was like, oh, thank God.
It was like the fucking Ed 209 scene from RoboCop. Not as brutal, but you know, it was like that level of like like morbidly funny.
Yeah,
you know?
Because you're just like, oh, thank God, there's no incest in this movie. But you're just like, oh, but his sister's dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like the inclusion of the family. I like that we never see the dad. He's just like, we never had a dad. Like, that's how disassociated he is with him.
Yeah.
I think that works.
All right. I don't want to keep you waiting on the climax because, frankly, I want to talk about it too. But before we do, you want to just touch up on like the other gangsters? Maybe go into Manny a little more. I don't know. Like, it's up to you.
It's up to you. It's your episode.
All right. I thought the gangsters were, you know, pretty cool. Like, obviously, some of them don't really have too much to say, but I think like the guy, you know, who played like, you know, Frank and Sosa, like they gave relatively, you know, good performances. So, yeah, he was good. And I also like, you know, like his mansion, like it's all like, again, very, very 80s. Like he's got
Frank's
like that
mansion
wallpaper.
Ass, dude. It
was
dude. So cool because he had the elevator.
Like even Elvira's intro, like she's going down that glass elevator.
Yeah, because she's wearing like, the Kim Novak Vertigo dress, or I don't think it's the same exact dress, but it was like this bright mint green. I instantly thought, oh, Vertigo.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection. That makes sense because apparently De Palma's a big Hitchcock.
Well, there you go.
Hitchcock guy. So, well, no. Like De Palma, like he really loves Hitchcock. There's a lot of like pastiches in his work. So maybe that was a Vertigo.
Yeah, maybe
homage.
It was.
I don't know. Doesn't matter. But yeah, man, like his fucking mansion is like, oh god. Like even his wallpaper where, you know, Tony storms in and he's like, you know, bring him down, and he's got like, you know, the sun set and all of the palm trees. Like that's like, chef's kiss.
You can't even see the door. Like it's part of the
so
wall.
Good.
So cool.
Yeah, so cool. But yeah, I guess you know what, we've held back on it for pretty long time. Let's just get right into it.
We can finally climax.
We can finally. We've been edging for so long. Okay. All right. So yeah, the climax. I fucking loved it, man.
Yeah.
Like every flaw this movie has, like in those last 20 minutes, I was like, does any of that shit even fucking matter? Because I'm seeing a guy blast hundreds and hundreds of guys with an M16 and a grenade launcher. You know, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, you know, and it's just fucking beautiful, man.
This is the like, adrenaline-filled parts I was expecting. I was like, okay, now I see where people are getting this adrenaline rush from the movie.
Right.
Which makes sense. I think this is the last thing you think of when you think of the movie because it was the last thing you saw. So
exactly.
You're going to attribute that to the rest of the movie.
Yeah. And that's not to say that this movie doesn't have its own like little adrenaline rushes up to that point. Like obviously there's, you know, like the drug deal that goes wrong with the chainsaw, the fucking editing and that. Oh man, you got all the blood splurting out,
but screaming. But the climax is definitely like the part where they were saving it up, and that's when that's the part that people remember. I mean,
that's when they fucking go bananas.
That's when they release the most iconic line in the movie when Pacino goes, "Say hello to my little friend."
My little friend.
Yeah.
Yep.
which
Yeah.
it was a really cool sequence. Even though I've
Yeah.
heard that line so many times in YouTube poops and whatnot, it
Yeah.
still works.
I think it's in Shark Tale. Weirdly enough, the fucking shrimps
Oh yeah.
say the line
Well,
like.
there's a lot of pop culture
Yeah.
references in Shark Tale,
Yeah.
but yes.
Right. Yes. To gangster movies, no less. So it's appropriate enough, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know, but whatever. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you not entertained?
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
But
fuck. What was the next thing he said?
yeah,
You
you want to
can't
fuck with me?
You can't handle the truth. Oh wait, no, I was talking about Shark Tale.
No, that's. Oh. Yeah. Well, wouldn't that make Shark Tale a great movie if like fucking Don Lino was like, "You want to fuck with me?
You want to fuck with
Oscar?
me? Are you
With
out of
me,
your
Oscar?
mind?
You must."
But yeah, no, and what I love about that scene, yes, as we were saying, he takes all his arsenal that he just so happens to have. He has a lot, and he just
Yeah.
blows dudes away. It's
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
And even like the fucking like after he says the iconic line, like how the guys just fucking ragdoll like across the room, like it's fucking
yeah,
it's beautiful.
it's so beautiful.
Beautiful in its own
Even
ultra violent.
even when he's gonna die, when he's just like, you
Yeah.
know what, keep shooting me, and everyone keeps shooting him, and he's still like, I'm still standing. You're just like, oh fuck, dude. This is like
Even before he gets fucking blasted
yeah, by
from behind, like
sunglasses.
he still but he still gets like shot like a considerable amount of times, but he's still up on top. And and I also love I'm not sure if you picked up on this, but there's the subtle detail of like, when he's like hiding behind cover on top of like the fucking balcony, and like all of the wood is like going everywhere, and then only when he gets blasted from behind does it collapse, and then he falls into the pool.
Yeah.
Which again is, of course, obviously symbolic, as he's at top of the world, except not anymore.
Not anymore.
He's fucking dead now.
Yeah. The world is yours? Nah, man.
The world is yours? Nah, man. It's over.
It's over.
It's Jover.
So.
Got fucking canceled, bro.
Yeah. That's one way to put
man.
it.
Dude, imagine if fucking Tony Montana had a social media account. Like,
he would get canceled immediately. He's kind of
like not even 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like he'd be on there for a minute and he'd fucking get eviscerated.
Yeah. He'd be kind of problematic for Twitter.
Yeah, a little problematic, a little. Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to mention is during the credits.
Are you talking about the disclaimer?
Yeah, the disclaimer. That's just like, this in no way.
That's so weird.
This in no way represents the Cuban community, which I was like, oh, so even back then they were taking into account like idiots misinterpreting their films. Yeah. It's like, yeah, no shit.
Like I think up to the movie's release, there was some, controversy regarding that it would, enforce negative stereotypes and stuff like that.
Which, I mean,
but,
if that's your main problem with a film, then you're just, I don't know. That's doesn't that say more about you than the actual
I don't
movie?
know. And if you were gonna put a disclaimer at all, why not just do it in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
Where most people, but by that point, do you think the people who give a shit about that are even watching it by the end?
No,
I mean, let alone the credits.
I mean, are the people complaining about it even watching the film? Like, for real?
For sure.
How many times has that been proven? Like, the people who complain the loudest about something don't actually watch something. It's like,
for sure.
So I don't know. I just thought it was really funny when I saw it. I was just like, oh,
I don't know.
Oh, you made this film where every Cuban person is a drug dealer. That's not true. You mean it's not true? It's like, yeah, of course it's not true. It's like,
what do you mean it's not true?
Of course it's not true. Of course this doesn't represent the. It's a movie. It's a fucking movie.
Yeah.
I'm smart enough to know this is not real.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. but yeah, no. Anything else you wanna talk about? Because I do have some other stuff related, or little, fun facts
Yeah.
about the movie. Yeah, yeah.
I want to make it clear, I don't hate this film. I don't gel with certain aspects, but that doesn't mean I hate it. I probably prefer other gangster films more than this, like Godfather and Goodfellas. Um, but
Maybe even Casino,
I maybe
personally.
Casino. Yeah, I'd have to rewatch Casino. It's been a while. But yeah, I feel like those are the films I'd probably gravitate more towards. When it comes to, film bro-ish movies, Scarface is definitely one of those. It's still a great film. Like, there's a reason
Yeah.
it's so iconic and it's withstood the test of time. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good film. I recommend it to
Yeah.
everybody. I just can't say every aspect gels with me. I can't say this is something I'm going to be like
Yeah.
passionately defending as one of the greatest
Sure.
films ever made. It's still really
Yeah.
good. I really had a great time, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
fun fact time.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. Well, one aspect I want to talk about real quick is the TV edit for this movie.
Oh, that's actually on the Blu-ray. There's
Really?
under the additional features section. It says Scarface, the TV version. So instantly,
Oh, yeah.
at first, I thought that was like, oh, is that like, did they make a TV pilot for the movie, for like a
No, no, no,
adaptation
no,
of the
no.
movie?
That's
Because that's what Blazing Saddles did. They were like, oh, Blazing Saddles, the TV show pilot, and I watched it on my Blazing Saddles Blu-ray, and it sucked. But anyway, you were saying?
I mean, yeah, yeah. Um, but no, this was like the network edit. Like, cut
Right.
out the
Yes.
profanity, the violence, the sex.
So it was a minute long.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And no, but the little on YouTube there was actually like a sort of documentary about it, just going over like the footage and stuff, and it was like the producer for the movie. He was like talking like, well, when I was heard that the network wanted to bring Scarface to network television, I was like, Harry, are you fucking crazy? Like, yeah. But and then it just kind of goes over like all of the edits, and some of them are actually pretty fucking funny. I don't think they quite get to the level as other infamous TV edits, like Your Mother Knits Socks in Hell from The Exorcist, or
Or the Love Conquers All
uh,
cut of Brazil.
oh god. Ugh.
I love that TV
or
edit. It's so terrible.
yeah, or Die Hard 2, Yippee-ki-yay,
Ooh.
Mr. Falcon. That's another
Oh.
where the guy doesn't even sound like Bruce Willis.
Yeah, does it sound more like Schwarzenegger-ish? Where he's just
Yeah,
like,
it's like Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Mr.
Yeah,
Falcon.
like it's kind of yeah. But yeah, no, it's there's some gems in there. Funnily enough, it's kind of weird that you mentioned that the guy you said from the interrogation was ADR'd with the villain from the Muppet movie, because I was looking over the censored version, and so first off they changed the line from "Where'd you get that scar from, tough guy eating pussy?" to "Where'd you get that scar from, tough guy eating pineapple?"
Oh
So
God.
yeah, kind of whatever. But
That's like kids.
if you listen to yeah, it doesn't work near as well. But that's not the point. If you go and listen to them like back to back, you can clearly tell it's a different guy. So
you're telling me
maybe they were anticipating like a network edit, so they just ADR'd the guy originally, so they could just ADR it for the TV version. I don't fucking know, dude.
there's
but
ADR over ADR.
ADR over ADR.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh god. So yeah. Yeah, man. So thank you for bringing that tidbit up, or else I would have never made that connection.
Yeah.
But
well, we got to thank the network for making an embarrassing product.
Thank you, 80s TV network,
Yeah.
for butchering, but also making this gritty gangster movie into a slapstick comedy. Like, thank you.
Yeah, bunch of
you bunch of yeah.
So, all right. Well, can I talk a little bit about this Blu-ray?
Yeah, I guess you can, but I don't know. There is one other notable piece of Scarface media.
Oh, well, I gotta hear this.
Yeah. I actually brought it up before, but
is this a video game?
own. Yes, I own a copy of a Scarface game for PS2. Scarface: The World Is Yours. Now, just to go over, again, yet going on another side tangent. It seemed like during mid to late 6, early 7th generation of games. So PS2, original Xbox, going into the PS3 and 360. It seemed like every 70s, 80s, and 90s crime or crime adjacent movie got its own video game tie-in. Obviously, a lot of them were trying to cash in on the success of GTA and that kind of crime simulator.
Yeah, there's a Sopranos PS2 game I'm aware of.
Yeah, well, that is an exception because I think that's more of a beat 'em up as opposed to an open world, sandbox for PS2. But yeah, every sort of movie property that all of these studios had, they kind of just dug it out. All right, guys, what do we got that we can turn into a GTA clone? And some of them I've heard are actually pretty decent. Like Rockstar, the company that make GTA, they made a Warriors game. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Warriors. It's
I've heard of the
one
movie.
of those the movie. Yeah. I actually saw it fairly recently. It's pretty good. Might be a future episode, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So what I'm trying to say is some of these, adaptations, tie-ins, whatever you want to call it, some of them were fairly good. And others were Reservoir Dogs and Fight Club for the PS2. Which, why? Who was fucking asking for that? But I digress. So anyways, this game, I actually looked into it. Some YouTubers I watch actually covered it, and it looks really fucking fun, dude. So, what's interesting about it is it's actually not a direct adaptation of the movie. It's actually sort of like a what if alternate sequel where it shows what if Tony survived the final shootout at the mansion. He's able to escape, and he's pretty much starting from ground zero, and he's building up his empire again. So essentially it's less of a GTA clone and more of a criminal empire management sim. You can go around, pay people off, go to money laundering companies,
all that good stuff.
Yeah, go on enemy turf, shoot people. And it's funny how they I think for reputation, they symbolize it as balls. So your balls meter, okay,
Excellent.
Excellent.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah. And it's also funny. Apparently, originally they wanted to get Al Pacino back for the role, but I guess by the mid 2000s, his voice had kind of aged considerably. So what they did, instead of just hiring a sound-alike on the spot, they brought him in to personally pick an impressionist of him. So they went through hundreds of guys, and then he finally was yeah, that guy kind of sounds like me as Tony Montana. Go with him. So yeah, and from what I've heard, he does a pretty decent, impression, I guess. I don't know. He kind of gets a little too into it with the yelling. He's obviously, playing it up for the sake of playing it up, but it seems like a fine performance, all things considered. But yeah, I mean, I considering I enjoyed the movie a fair amount, and I mean, Vice City, San Andreas, I love those games. So, and the fact that this seems to be like one of the better GTA clones or derivatives, I might want to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the Blu-ray.
Yeah. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
much to say. I mean, like we said, it does include the TV version, which I have to see now. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
For me to look
One
into.
other line that I forgot to mention is when he's talking. Oh, okay. There's two in particular. I just gotta mention because they're so fucking funny. So, one of them is like it's him and Manny out at like the pool. They're like sipping like that straw of the coconut. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
they're having the fancy like pina colada
Yeah,
drinks.
yeah, the pina coladas, and like Tony's like, man, this city is like one great big pussy just waiting to be fucked.
Yeah.
In
Great
the
line.
TV edit, they censored it too, and I'm not kidding when I say this. This city is like one great big chicken waiting to be plucked. Brilliant.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but
Chicken, pineapple, were they very hungry when they rewrote these lines?
I don't know. But by far the funniest, in my opinion, is when, again, I think in the same scene when Manny is flirting.
Yeah, he's hitting
With
on the blonde
that
girl.
one bimbo
Yeah.
over, yeah, and he's like, he's got his tongue out, and she like slaps him. And so in the original version, he says like, "Oh, lesbian,"
Yeah, you fucking bitch.
yeah, fucking bitch. But again, TV edit, they censor it as lame brain.
Well, that's a killer insult for an episode of Goosebumps, let me tell you.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, you mean to tell me this fucking jacked Cuban gangster lame brain again? I don't know, something about that just doesn't seem right to me.
Hey,
but
John Gotti himself used that one.
Man. All right.
So yeah,
I don't know. I'll send you the compilation and
excellent.
Later on, and you can
Good.
make of it what you will.
I'm so glad. So yeah, so I would say I'm definitely keeping this Blu-ray because it's a great film. I think all should watch it. I think it's it's definitely an interesting, unique experience, and I can't wait to see how it holds up on rewatch. So here's my question: do you own it, or do you own it? Do you own a physical collection of any kind?
Yes, I do. I don't own the movies we're talking about, but honestly, after we're done recording, I might just hop onto Amazon and get myself a copy because I really loved both of these movies.
Yeah. Well, I did love the next film more. So, do we want to get into that?
Yeah, and I personally have to concur. But yeah, let's get into that. So, Heat, 1995, directed by Michael Mann and starring Robert De Niro. And hey, another Al Pacino movie.
Yeah,
like we said. Yeah,
another Pacino.
Another Pacino. So, yeah. Do you want to take it away?
No, so Michael Mann is one of those directors. This is actually our first Michael Mann film on the podcast, which is really cool.
All right.
Cool. He's a director I definitely need to see more from. Apparently, I've only seen 2 films from him, and that's the Miami Vice film he did in 2006, which I kind of hated. But it's been a couple of years since
I've heard a lot of divisive things about that one in particular.
Device.
So, but
I can say I could say with full confidence that I prefer Heat. I think that this
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
such a masterpiece of a crime thriller film.
Right. Now, my history with Michael Mann is actually kind of interesting. I've seen 4 movies of his
Mm-hmm.
up to this point. My first from him was Collateral from 2004. Has Jamie Foxx, Tom Cruise. Kind of similar to this movie where it's sort of like, well, obviously it's set in LA and it's primarily like, well, Collateral is like a one night odyssey, whereas, you know, this movie obviously it's set over the course of like, you know, several days
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, but like tonally and like, you know, I mean, obviously it's the same director, but yeah, so they kind of complement one each other. But even then, like the other 2 movies I've seen um from Michael Mann were actually from the 80s, no less. Thief, which I believe is his theatrical debut. Like, to my understanding, like he did like some like TV movies before that, but like this was like, you know, his first quote unquote real movie, so to speak.
Right.
I really love that movie. It's got James Caan in it. His performance in that is great, and I can't help. Obviously, I don't want to get too into it because we're talking about Heat, um, but yeah, that's a great movie right there. But the other film I've seen, which is really unique, not when it comes to Mann's filmography, but I guess like sort of really the history of film in general, is a movie called Manhunter, which I'm not sure if you were aware, but it is actually the first ever adaptation of a Hannibal Lecter novel. It predates Silence of the Lambs
Yeah, I was
by
aware of
like 5
that.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Brian Cox plays him, plays
Yeah,
Hannibal Lecter.
Lecter. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot different from Hopkins'
I
performance. He's a
yeah,
lot
I'd
more,
probably
yeah.
predict that. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But it's a really great movie, all things considered.
Mm.
Has like that very unique visual flair. And between you and me, I think I kind of like it more than Silence of the Lambs. But that's an episode for another day. Yeah. But
We can agree on
bring this
Heat
back.
though.
Yeah, yes, yes. Bring this back to Heat. I think Mann, as a filmmaker, has a knack for making these movies about masters of their craft who are kind of torn between their professional and personal lives. And I think this movie is sort of an antithesis to that. So I guess right off the bat, we can get into like, you know, Pacino and De Niro's characters.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of them?
What I like about this movie is that I like that they're sort of the main characters and we get
Yeah,
both different perspectives on uh this cat and mouse game that they're playing. You have De Niro, who is the criminal. He's the one who's robbing banks, committing these crimes, and then you have Pacino, who is this crooked cop that's following him. And what I like about them and how they're portrayed is that there is an understanding to the craft that they're doing. They're treating their
yeah,
jobs as
they
craft,
mutually respect each other despite being on opposing sides.
opposing
Like,
sides of
and
the
I really
spectrum.
dig,
Yeah,
yeah, I really dig that
yeah,
too, because you don't really see that from movies like this. It's like usually portrayed in like a very, you know, black and white,
yeah.
good versus evil
Yeah, you have the
kind of
criminals be
deal.
like either straight up
Yeah,
dipshits or
like
super smart,
cartoonishly,
or the cops
yeah,
is
or
like super incompetent. Yeah, no,
yeah, or like
both.
one of them is like cartoonishly evil, or
Yeah,
the other one is like, you know, kind of all like Boy Scouty.
yeah.
But not this movie. Like it doesn't. It's not afraid to kind of blur the lines
Everybody is a
between
piece of
cops and
shit.
criminals. Yes, absolutely. I guess we can talk about the both of them
Mhm.
on their own. So yeah, Al Pacino, Vincent Hanna, LAPD detective. he is fucking insane, and I love it.
Yes, this one
Yes.
I would honestly say maybe he's not. Maybe I made the claim that he's more insane than Tony Montana. Maybe not, but he definitely has bouts where I'm just like, whoa. But he does, like, as my icon shows, there's that very
Yes.
iconic scene where he's interrogating Hank Azaria, and he's just
For
like,
those who don't know, the voice of Chief Wiggum,
oh yeah,
Mo,
yeah,
and Professor Frink, and a bunch of other Simpsons
yeah.
characters. Just figured I'd mention that for
Yeah,
those.
no,
Yeah.
of course, gotta
And
mention The Simpsons. Yeah, Hank
oh
Azaria's
yeah,
in this movie,
Hank
and
Azaria.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
sounds like Frank Grimes,
Yeah.
which is great. So
Right.
yeah,
I even like the little introduction when he's, storming into his office, like, hey, are you Alan Marciano? And then he's like, yeah, who the fuck are you? And
yeah,
then he just like fucking pins him down.
yeah. Who the fuck
Like
are you?
that's yeah.
It's-
Vincent Hanna, LAPD, you're under suspicion of smuggling cigarettes from North Carolina to New Jersey.
Yeah, there was something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
something
done
like that.
something shady,
Yeah.
but they're gonna turn the other way if he helps
Right,
them,
right.
and that's so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course it leads to the iconic line of "Cause she got a great ass."
Great ass! And you've got your head all the way up it. Yeah.
It's a
Such a
scene.
great line.
Such a great line.
Yeah. All the while he's got like this mortified expression and he's like pulling on his tie. It's so good.
Yeah, because
I
I'm
love
pretty
it.
sure Hank Azaria is actually terrified that Al Pacino's gonna like eat his face off, which because I'm pretty sure Pacino was like on coke in this movie, which it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, no. But yeah, you were saying earlier how everyone is kind of just a miserable piece of shit in this movie. And yeah, like he gets so invested in this case where he kind of just forgets about his, his wife and his
Yeah.
stepdaughter. Let's talk about them. Like
Yeah,
what are your
we have so Vincent is very much the family man, which is the
yeah,
opposite of Robert De Niro's character, who
yeah.
tries not to have a family and tries
Yeah,
not
more of a
to
free spirit,
more of a free spirit,
get
exactly.
shit done. Yeah.
And I like that the movie portrays Vincent as this workaholic. And
Yeah.
it doesn't like necessarily shame him for it. I mean, it kind of does, but you as an audience member can interpret that on your own. The movie doesn't outright say it for you. I do like that he's not just a piece of shit just because he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. He's perceived as one to his wife and stepdaughter because he's so obsessed with his work.
Yeah, I mean, there's the great line. Again, not to get too ahead of ourselves here because we got so much to talk about, but there's the great line towards the end where he's, they're talking to each other, him and his wife, and he says, like, all I am is what I'm going after, and like, fuck, dude. Like, that just sums up his character so well. He's just so obsessed.
It kind of sums up
with
every
his work.
character in a way.
Yeah.
And I think
Really.
it's a great philosophy.
Like De Niro,
From an observation
his character
standpoint.
is he's just trying to get by
Mhm.
every day. He's looking for the next score. He doesn't really think about what he's gonna do with his life. He just lives it moment by moment. And honestly, I think that's kind of again, not to like condone obviously his actions or anything, but just like saying from like a personal philosophical standpoint, I think like just the idea of like living life moment after moment, like I don't know, that just kind of speaks to me on a personal level.
No, of
like
course.
Yeah.
I think this is very much an Uncut Gems sort of situation where
Yeah.
you understand it from on a smaller scale. You're not
Yeah.
going to the lengths that these characters. Yeah, we don't kill people,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like not just in this movie, but in Man's work in general, you can clearly see like the Safdies like taking those ideas of people who are good at one particular thing and
Yeah.
again, getting torn and trying to essentially do this like circus balancing act of just trying to keep everything afloat, you know?
Doing that
And I
one
think
thing,
that's,
obsessing over that one thing. Exactly.
yeah, and just kind of forgetting about everything else until in the end you're just kind of alone.
Yeah.
But
Which
um
forgetting whether intentionally or not, you're still forgetting. Like that's
yeah,
like one of the brilliant things about this movie is that the both characters are so obsessed with what they do, and they even say it. They're like, "This is all I know how to do. Like, if I wasn't
yeah,
doing this, I'd probably
right.
be dead." And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that's which is kind of a messed up thing, but I like that. I like how
Yeah.
it definitely shows that messed up angle. It's just like this is
Yeah.
all I'm good at.
It's realistic,
Hmm.
but it's done in a way where it's, easy
It's
to.
realistic, but not in an obnoxious way.
Yeah, right. And I guess you could say that for the look of the movie. Let's
Oh,
let's talk about the visuals
so
for this
I
movie.
watched this on the 4K that I got years ago, and holy god, dude! Like
Dude,
I, it was so good, so good. Like the
yes.
visuals are so good. So
Like honestly, again, apologies for cutting you off, but um honestly, if it weren't for the cars, the tech, and obviously the age of the actors, this does not look like a movie from 1995. Like
no,
even on the 1080p YouTube rip I watch, like goddamn man, like this
oh,
looks
it's
like it
still
could have
up.
come out. Wait, yeah, yeah,
Okay, interesting.
like
Because well, no, because like I've said in my review that I watched this on a YouTube upload years ago, uh, and I was like, "There's no way it's still up because it's fucking Heat. Like it's a real movie, but it's still up. Wow, I didn't know.
yeah, no. I was surprised to find it on there too. Like I
No
was looking
kidding.
for ways to watch it. I mean, if I couldn't find it, I could always just, your heart.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But yeah,
which
no,
I
you're absolutely
admittedly I
right.
did.
The movie looks incredible. Like the back of
It
my
looks
head,
like,
my brain was saying like this is a movie that came out in 2008, and I'm like, no, it
yeah,
came out in
like
1995.
exactly. I was just gonna say it looks like it could have come out like anywhere between 2006 to 2009. Like it reminds me of like late 2000s Christopher Nolan, like
Yeah.
sort of that. Yeah,
There's
like The
very
Dark
much
Knight.
a Dark Knight. Like when you watch the
Yeah,
Dark Knight, now I feel like when I rewatch
yeah,
the Dark Knight, now I'm gonna be like, this was very much inspired by Heat, which
yeah,
makes sense.
absolutely.
Which oh, look at
Yeah.
that! On the Blu-ray of this 4K, it says Q&A with Christopher Nolan. Okay, so
Oh,
so he
yeah. So
knows.
that pretty much,
He
yeah.
knows.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's great.
Um, but even just like beyond the look of the movie, like I think just what man is able to do with like the visuals, like all the lighting choices, it's just like so good, man. Like
Yeah,
obviously there's that one shot where after the opening scene where they're robbing that van, you know, they got all the hockey masks and they blow it, which we can kind of talk about later because I kind of love how it sets up De Niro's character as like sort of this like calculating mastermind. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
He's not always trying to kill people. He will if he
right,
has to, but if he can avoid
yes,
it, he wants to avoid it. Whereas
yeah,
Rango is just a wild card. He'll do whatever the fuck he wants.
yeah, for sure. But that scene afterwards where he puts his gun down and we see him walk over to his like apartment and it's all just blue and you see the ocean in the
Mm,
background and that nice little ambient um scores playing in the background. Like I'm like,
mm.
fuck, dude, that's my Martin Scorsese, this is cinema
Yeah.
moment right there.
Yeah, no,
Like damn,
the music in this movie is phenomenal.
yeah. Like
Really
I'd argue like
reinforces.
that's one of Michael Mann's greatest strengths from the movies I have seen. Like the scores in his movies just fucking rip ass, man. Like it the way they complement like the characters and the world and the atmosphere he builds, like it's
Yeah.
just so good.
It's
So good.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's amazing. Incredible. But yeah, So yeah, let's enough about this all philosophical bullshit. Let's talk about the cool heist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you're so yeah, the first heist where they yeah, they crash
van.
that van, that like truck,
Yeah,
the Brinks, like the truck that's carrying the money. Yeah. They hijack it. They're all wearing hockey masks. Already a striking image seeing like all those hockey masks on the guys.
yeah.
Um and then yeah, I love how Rango is just
Yeah.
like kind of messing with them. I like that because it sets up, because Rango is
That's the neo-Nazi guy that double
it
crosses.
yeah, Mullet Man.
Yeah, Mullet Man.
Yeah, Mullet Man.
Mullet Man.
He's
Yeah,
messing with them. He's just like, hey, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And Tom Sizemore's
yeah.
character goes, hey, Slick, leave him alone. And
And
because
then he fucking shoots him
yeah,
because he just wants to fuck with him.
but what I
Yeah.
love about that is that Tom Sizemore's character is afraid that Rango's gonna like screw something up, so then it kind of leads the police to them. But due to him calling him Slick, that's what the homeless man hears him say, and
Oh,
that's what
that's the
Pacino
connection.
that's what Pacino goes off of. He's like,
Oh
Slick,
fuck.
research Slick. And then when he's talking to Tone Lock in the bar, and then Tone Lock is just
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's this guy who calls us Slick, and that's when Pacino's like, whoa, now I'm interested. It's like
Oh
that was the
fuck.
it's
I never
ironic.
made that connection.
Oh
I
my god,
never
dude!
made that connection.
There's so many
There's
moving
just so
parts.
many details
Yeah.
in this movie. I kind of want to just go on a tangent about those because from the dialogue to like the video, so even like some like visual references or like actors playing certain characters where there's just so much, so much. One notable that kind of just left me kind of flabbergasted, honestly. Like I had to like rewind to make sure I was seeing this right. Is I think De Niro, Neil McCauley, you know, he's calling up Val Kilmer's character, Chris, to see if he's home, and you know his wife is there, and the kid is, you know, they're having like, you know, breakfast together and stuff, and there's cartoons playing on the TV in the background. So I'm like, oh wow, what's playing in the background? I'm not kidding when I say this, but it was fucking Akira in the
No
background.
kidding.
Yes.
Akira.
Well, Akira.
That old children's cartoon.
Yeah, that fun for the whole family.
Oh.
Little.
Great.
Man. Yeah, because as soon as I like saw like the fucking bikes and stuff, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just little bits like that that just completely caught me off guard. Another thing I noticed was when we were getting introduced to I forget his name, but he's like the getaway driver during the main heist. That guy. The guy who works at the restaurant.
Yeah, Donald.
Yeah,
Breeden.
Yeah.
Breeden's the character's name.
Yeah, Breeden or whatever. When he's pulling up, you can see in the background the Saban Entertainment building, which, if you don't know, was the company that produced Power Ranger for many years. So that's like a little like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
Saban Entertainment.
There you go. But yeah, Breeden, played by the Allstate guy.
No, fuck.
Yeah, that's the Allstate guy.
For real?
Yeah.
That's the Allstate guy.
That's the Allstate guy.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Which, holy shit, man. His one of the scenes that really stuck out to me this time was when he, like, Breeden, this side character. He has like this. There's like this one scene where he's with his.
Yeah, he has a fucking arc.
He has a fucking arc.
He has a fucking arc.
An arc into that doesn't end up well for him at the end, but an arc nonetheless. There's that scene where like he's talking with his girlfriend, and he's just like, and she's like, "I'm proud of you," and he's just like, "What you got? What do I got?" Or what did he say? He's like, "What have I done that you got to be proud of?" And he's like on the brink of tears, and I'm like, that's the Allstate guy, and he's on the brink of tears in this one scene,
And
like
a side character.
a side character,
Fucking
no
side
less.
character.
It's
Yeah,
so
no.
good, but
It's
that's
so good.
again
And
so many
that's
moving
another
parts.
thing I was able to appreciate about this movie this time around, because I'm going to be honest with you, while I did get a lot out of this movie, I kind of felt similar to how you did Scarface this time around when the first time I saw it, where it was like, yeah, this is cool and all, but there's some aspects where I was just not into. But this time around, I really appreciate just like developing all of like, you know, the robbers and all of the people there. Like it really makes you it
Appreciate.
really makes the city appreciate and makes the city or this version of Los Angeles like feel all the more like actually lived in, you know?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
that's great. Like one of my favorite lines in the movie isn't from any of the main characters. It's from some bumfuck nobody at the dinner party where, you know, Vincent and his wife are having, and there's this like guy, he's like kind of drunk off his ass, and I wrote it down, and he's like going on this rant, and he's saying like, I once knew a kid in grade school. His name was Raul, and he would always pull his fingers to turn his eyelids inside out.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that was Bosco. Bosco was telling that story. Ted Levine
Yeah,
from
but
Silence of the Lambs, no doubt. Hey, look at that! Look at
oh,
that
wow.
connection.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's right. He was talking about this kid he knew. Yeah,
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 and at we cut away for a bit, you know, Vincent's, you know, talking about his work with his wife, and then when we cut back, they're toasting to Raul,
to
and that's
Raul.
just like a character we never know or see,
Yeah,
but it's just like simple moments like that make it
they're
all the
toasting.
more.
They're toasting
Yeah,
to a character. They're talking about who's really good at doing this one specific thing that, in the grand
yeah,
scheme of things, doesn't matter. Which,
yeah.
and then Vincent.
Which, in a sense, you could say for an allegory. Well, I don't know. I think, like, you know, obviously, you know, Vincent and Neil's, like, you know, detective work and, you know, robbery. Like, I don't know, like, just sort of that connection to, like, you know, a person good at one specific thing. Like, I guess you can interpret that as, like, you know, sort of a thing, but
But
I
in the
don't know.
grand scheme of things, is what they're doing more important than living a fulfilling life with their family?
Exactly.
Like
There you
that
go.
that's the connection, because yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing important work, no doubt, but at the
And of
sacrifice of everything
of
else in their
everything
life.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess we're on this topic. Are there any other standout side characters? Um, I guess Tom Sizemore. You were talking about him earlier. I think he's he's great.
Yeah.
In this again, like Allstate man, getaway driver, he does unfortunately meet a bitter end. But again, those simple moments leading up to that, like, you know, they're having like dinner together with his wife and all the other people, like Neil's there, and you know, and then like he asks his daughter like, honey, what do you want to be when I grow up? And she's like, I don't.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just I don't know.
No, little
And then
moments like that
that
are great.
makes the scene during the big heist all the
Mm.
more upsetting, because not only does his daughter see him for what he is, but only for him to, you know, get gunned down by Vincent Hanna, and you know, man, like again,
While
that's
holding a child. Yeah, it's
holding a
brutal.
child. It's fucking brutal, and that's another great thing to go back to the side characters again. Like if it's, I feel like in a lesser movie, like these characters would have been just like, you know, cannon fodder essentially for the
Hmm.
main conflicts, but because we're given time to, you know, get to know them and live in their shoes, like that makes that scene hit all the much harder.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like the little details that are given to characters, even if they're not given an arc or they're not given a lot of screen time, like Roger Van Zant, the
Yeah.
another Dark Knight connection played by William Fichtner, who was in the Dark
Yep.
Knight.
There you go.
He plays that asshole banker who's just like,
Yeah,
they can't
money
steal from me.
launderer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that asshole money launderer is just like, you can't
Yeah.
steal from me, and he tries to prove a point by assassinating them. It doesn't
Well,
work.
Yeah.
And
even
he
the
becomes
line,
Oh,
I wrote it
line?
down. It was so. But no, I wrote it down like when Neil's on the phone, like, you know, he's like saying like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" And then he says, "What am I doing? Talking to an empty telephone." Because there's a dead man at the other end of this fucking line, and he hangs up.
Oh, nice.
So good, dude.
Yeah, and
so good.
And then the next time we see him, he's like clearly has like a 5 o'clock shadow. He's still in the same clothes. He's like bags under his eyes. He's in the same office. He's like, I haven't left this office in days because he's that paranoid.
Oh man!
And then the next time
So
we
good.
see him, he's at his home, and that's when Neil breaks into his house. And is just like, "Where's Wangro?" He's like, "How should I know?" And just doesn't hesitate, shoots him, and Roger's dead. It's so good.
Oh man, yeah, it's great. I guess when we're talking about Neil, we can go into his character more and how his character kind of evolves over the course of the movie. So yeah, right after the big, you know, or the first heist, rather, goes into a restaurant, or no, even before that, he's at the bookstore, getting buying a book on minerals, assuming like, you know,
he's researching
getting
for
ready
his
for
next heist,
researching for the next heist,
which is really cool in how nerdy that is. He's researching for his next heist, which I get it. You kind of have to if you're like
right,
if you're that level of robber.
Well, another detail I really love is how at the beginning when Val Kilmer goes out to like Arizona to get you know, the C4, you know, chemical weapons or whatever, and after, like, you know, the detectives are trying to figure out how the fuck these guys were able to pull it off, and they're like, "Sorry, Vincent, we can't trace the liquid nitrogen they used. It's way too common." Like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
That they thought of like everything.
Again, they're not amateurs. Everybody
they're fucking professionals.
They're professionals to an extent, of course.
Yeah. Right. But so yeah, like he goes into the bookstore, he gets the book, and later on he's at a restaurant, and a woman sits right next to him, and they start, you know, a conversation, and at first he's like, "Why the fuck are you talking to me?" And then, you know, she's like, "Well, I work there. I see you every day." And then slowly, you know, they start to, you know, open up to each other, and what's your what do you reckon on that?
Oh, that's it's such a good scene because it doesn't start off all like, oh, love at first sight. At first he's just like, "Lady,
hi, I'm Neil. How you doing?
Why the fuck are you interested in me?" And then he goes into, and then when he realizes he was kind of rude,
like
that's when
in that moment, for all he knows, she could be like working for like like
a rival gang, the cops. He's instantly puts up a wall. But once he starts to see like she's not any of those, she's just a normal person.
He slowly starts breaking that down, and I really love that, and especially how that, you know, relates later on to the movie. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I don't know. I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head, but her performance, like Amy Brenneman, 80 is the character.
Edie's the character's name,
Edie. But yeah, like she has, in a way, I kind of wish she was what I wanted, like, out of Elvira in Scarface. Like she has like that vulnerability to her, but at the same time, like, you know, she kind of in every scene she's in, she doesn't feel like an afterthought. Like when the movie wants to dedicate its time to her and Neil's you know, relationship, um it'll go that far, you know. And again I really respect that aspect. Um but yeah. So yeah, what up? I guess we can talk about I mean, I don't know. Do you want to talk about Val Kilmer in this movie? I
I
think
I
he's
think this was the first film, if I'm not mistaken, since I saw that I've seen with him in it since Top Gun Maverick.
mm,
And I bring that up because I remember him being in Top Gun Maverick and how he
yeah,
can't talk because he has
right.
that thing with his
Yeah.
throat. So I was just like, oh, he's talking again. Like that kind of caught me off
Yeah.
guard. But then I was like, oh, right, because he was a very famous actor
Yeah.
who
Right.
so,
Yeah.
but it was great.
I
I think it was definitely a different kind of performance I've seen from him, where he's like this, not
yeah, kind
really,
of like hotshot guy,
yeah,
you know, like in Top Gun.
but not
But
so
I don't know.
much. Like not cool
Yeah.
hot shot. Like he thinks
Yeah,
he's
like
cool hot shot.
obnoxious,
Yeah,
obnoxious hotshot.
but
Yeah.
not unlikable. I actually did kind of
Right.
dig Chris. I thought he was kind of cool at times, where you're just like,
Would you
okay,
say he's kind of a similar ilk to Tony Montana in a sense? Obviously not as
not to that
deplorable or
extreme, but
yeah, but
in some way, shape, or form, probably yes.
yeah, right. Um yeah, I liked what they do with his character. Like, you know, they kind of hint that he's going through like a severe gambling addiction and he's, you know, taking these scores to kind of pay off his debts. And, you know, like Neil, for me, he's kind of like serves as like the missing link between Neil and Vincent, where like yeah, he's kind of more like with Vincent, he kind of shares like, you know, that kind of like family man you know dichotomy
Yeah, the family
to
struggle.
right, and how his marriage and his relationship with his, you know, his child is kind of, you know, on the up and end, but at the same time you have that connection with Neil, like, you know, like obviously he personally knows him and, you know, and he's taken scores, and again, like Neil, he doesn't want to hurt people, but when shit gets going, um he doesn't hesitate. And that's another thing. I know you touched upon it before, but I do really like the morality of these thieves. Like, yeah, they don't hurt, want to hurt anyone, but like, if it means that they're gonna get caught, they make sure not to leave any stone unturned. You know,
Right.
yeah. But yeah. So yeah, good character, good dynamic. Yeah. Let's I'm checking my notes here, seeing if there's any other stuff before we can go into the big heist. Um, uh, oh yeah, Roger Van Zant's bodyguard,
Ooh,
played by Henry
Henry
Rollins.
Rollins.
Yeah, Black Flag, Rollins band. Uh, an actor and some other stuff, but yeah, he was good. Didn't really have much to say, but
Yeah, he
you
wasn't
know,
really
just
like a big standout to me. I know people
yeah,
love
yeah.
saying like, "Oh, he's in Heat. Isn't that cool?" It's like, yeah, it's cool. He just I don't know, he just
Yeah.
doesn't
I don't
stand
know.
out as much as
It's a
other
similar take.
characters.
It's a similar thing to like seeing like Tone Lock in there.
I
Like, you know, it's like,
honestly
oh, Tone Lock's in this
I
movie.
thought Tone Lock stood
Cool.
out more to me because I was just like, "Hey, it's Tone Lock." But yeah.
Yeah. The baby from Bebe's Kids. Yeah.
And nothing else.
And nothing else.
I mean
Ah,
that's the most important roles, Heat and Bebe's Kids. I mean, that's all you really
yeah.
need.
Yeah. That's all you need, man.
It's
The film
animation.
bro. The film bro. Yeah, it's animation. The film bro companion. Heat. and Bebe's Kids.
Yeah.
I only watch real cinema.
True.
Yeah. Ah, man. But you know what? We've beaten around the bush long enough. Let's talk about it. The Big
The
Heist.
Big Heist. First
The Big
off, I
Heist.
want to mention the gunshot sounds in that Big Heist
Dude,
scene.
it's
Unmatched. I have never heard a gunshot
it
sound like that. It's
like,
the best.
dude, I literally multiple points, not just once, but multiple points during that scene, I had to turn that shit down because my fucking eardrums were just getting blasted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, this is what it would be like if I was there on the street and these guys just start going ape shit with their guns, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and it has like that, like, obviously there is some like you know, movie cheese in there, which honestly, for when it comes to like you know, gun sound design in movies, I kind of prefer like the old school, you know, stock, like, you know, ricochet sounds like pew! And
Or like
you know,
the 70s sci-fi like wizards like laser sound. Yeah.
yeah. Well, not even that, but you know, just
Well, I
like,
like
you
that.
know, yeah. Well, I that has charm, but yeah, like every revolver for like every movie before like uh the 90s, like, you know, has the same like stock sound, like pew
Sure.
pew, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But even though like Michael Mann, um he's going for obviously a more realistic sound, it does have that, you know, visceralness to it, you know.
Sure.
And I really admire that, personally. Um but yeah, just like everything from the way, like, in the beginning, like, you know, again, De Niro, he gives his, you know, speech about like, we're not robbing you, your money's fine, we're just robbing from the bank. And yet when the guy is like, he's like, to like one of the bankers, he's like, give me the key, and he's like, what key? And he fucking sucker punches him in the key in the face and like
Yeah.
tears his shirt out to get the key. Like that's great,
And
you know.
he's just like, here, sit down, just let it
Yeah,
bleed.
let him bleed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah. And just like, you know, the little ambient snare drum in the background kind of building it up. Like, it's really great. Again, like, I feel like the Safdies probably watched this scene and were like, maybe we can put it in one of our movies, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for that. But then when you get to the actual shootout, like, all of the police cars are surrounding the joint, and you know, they're trying to get away. Like, damn, man, and all of the civilians are like running around, and
Oh, dude.
it
It's so
like
stressful.
yes, it is. Like, even think about it right now. Like, my heart rate is like, whew, you
Yeah,
know.
you just
But
like, ugh.
oh god, yeah. But like, yeah, like, I feel like in a lesser movie, I know shaky cam didn't really become, you know, sort of a staple in like action crime movies until like the 2000s, but I feel like in a lesser movie they would have juxtaposed the action through, like, you know, quick cuts, and
Mm-hmm.
like the camera's all, you know, moving all over the place, and you're getting disoriented. But I think the way they shoot it, where it's like you can see everything like in frame, like, you know, guys getting gunned down, people running around, like, it feels disorienting, but there's like a cleanness to it. You get what I'm saying?
You still understand what's happening.
Yeah. There's this one shot I really like of Chris. He's like, you know, behind cover from like an SUV or something, and then the camera whips around and he's
Mm.
shooting guys from the
Yeah.
bat.
He's shooting from
That's
both sides, exactly.
from both sides.
So
Yeah.
good.
Like, that's a thing. And then like when they're in the car and like the cops start shooting. Well, no, like the cops start shooting from the back, and then you got that little cool slow motion bit of Neil pulling up his rifle, and then he start shooting from the front, and the Allstate guy's like, "The fuck you doing, man?"
Yeah.
And then you see the blood.
Oh, the blood.
Oh god! And then you just see him on the wheel, and it's like going out of control. Like,
It's ironic that the
damn.
Allstate guy caused a car accident.
I guess he wasn't in good hands that day. Yeah. Man. But yeah, and then obviously we talked about the scene with Tom Sizemore and his daughter.
trying to take that like random little girl, and then Pacino shoots him anyway.
Oh wait, that wasn't his daughter? That was just a random
I think
kid?
it was just a random little girl, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was supposed to be his daughter. Because
yeah, I mean, it would be kind of weird that
yeah, it was just a gigantic coincidence that his daughter just so happened to be there.
that she is just there.
I feel like it could have been. I think it still would have been appropriate. You could probably chalk that up to
right.
random.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could probably chalk that up to
because
like movie magic.
I guess the reason why I got confused was like earlier she was like a little blonde child, so I was like, oh, is that his daughter? But if that's not the case, it still works. It still works.
He's picking up this random child, so then the cops won't shoot at him because they don't want he knows they don't want to cause any civilian harm, but.
Right.
He didn't know he was dealing with Pacino over here, so
yeah,
Pacino was willing to take the risk.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So after that, obviously, that's when shit starts hitting the fan. McCauley's able to. Yeah, more so than usual. McCauley's able to. Oh fuck. We completely forgot about the restaurant scene. We got to talk about that.
Sure, we can talk about the restaurant scene.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, we touched on it when we were talking about how like they were saying, "Oh, this is all I'm good at."
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can talk about it towards the very end as like sort of like a thesis.
Yeah, because I feel like even though it's a very specific scene, what they talk about in that scene is very much present throughout the film.
Yeah, like that's it. That's the movie.
Yeah,
what it's going for and what it's trying to say. But yeah. So yeah, what happens after that? Yeah. So he goes to the money. He goes to Van Zant. He ices him. They're trying to get away. Oh well, man. Do you want to talk about the police force itself, like all of their little interactions?
They definitely don't get as much screen time as the robbers amongst themselves do, but I feel like you still get a sense that, and I think that's supposed to show just how kind of lonely at the top Pacino is, but you still get a sense of who these cops are. You still get a sense that they're competent, they're good at their job.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know why, but in terms of like the cat and mouse game between the cops and robbers, I got a lot of Death Note energy from it. Like obviously there's the scene where the robbers are breaking in to that safe house, right? And they're hiding out in like one of the trailers. And there's that really tense moment where McCauley thinks, he hears something, and it's just his face. Yeah, his face on a night vision. You just see him staring, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the camera kind of like pans in on both of their faces before he just kind of writes it off. Like, I don't remember. That's like,
I don't remember if there's like a pan specifically, but there is a cut where you do see like
Yeah, yeah,
De Niro's looking straight at the camera, Pacino's looking straight at the camera. It's insinuating that they are staring at each other. There's just
yeah, yeah,
walls between them, so they can't see
yeah,
each other, but they know they
yeah,
can see each
yeah.
other.
That's that's great.
Yeah.
But
Thanks,
eventually,
glasses.
yeah. But yeah, no. So and then like right after that, when they're sort of planning, their escape route for the heist. They're in that big like warehouse or shipping yard area.
The
You know what I mean?
shipping yard area, dude.
Yeah. And then at first, like it's the cops, spying on them, and then they go out and they're like, "Oh, well, they were gonna take that freeway," but then Vincent is able to infer that. Hold on a sec, fellas, we're being set up here. There's
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're looking at us, so then they can
yeah,
research them. It's
and they can plan ahead and make a
they
make a
all
backup. Like, dude,
they all switcheroo.
old switcheroo. Oh man, uh, yeah. So it's just from that point on, just a bunch of shit piling up and piling up and piling up, and all of a sudden, he's I guess at that point, like, there's the little side plot with Chris, trying to get away on his own,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
Ashley Judd's his wife lets him go,
that's a great
which was
scene. Ashley
that's a
Judd
great scene.
just like kind of doing the motion with her hand to be like, "Don't come up
Yeah,
here," and that's when he's like, he understands immediately. Like again, we're
yeah,
dealing with professionals here. Like they know.
yeah. They know. Yeah, yeah,
It's so tragic, but it's so good.
yeah. It's so good, man. Yeah, and
And
like
what I
you
like
can
about
see.
that is that the fact, because it kind of it coincides with the whole idea that Neil's been kind of hammering in with. It's like, you know, don't attach yourself to something that you can't walk away like in 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Which, because Chris is able to, and
yeah,
Neil is even able to later on.
yeah. Which, um, yeah, I guess we can sort of talk about that now. Yeah, so um, basically pretty much all of the loose ends are tied up. Well, almost. Obviously, there's still what's his name?
Wangro.
Yeah, Wangro. But so yeah, he's pretty much home free at that point. Him and Eddie are gonna go to New Zealand, start a new life, hopefully. But at the very last second, while there's this brilliant moment where they go into the tunnel and all of the lights are shining, sort of like, I guess, symbolizing like he's having his epiphany,
Mm.
and he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm taking care of Wangro.
Yeah.
We got time. And it's ultimately that one bad decision that fucks up everything. Like, it's so frustrating, but so perfect at the same time.
Yeah, but
Like,
at the same
yeah,
time, there is that idea that he's been saying, like, this is all I'm good at. It's like, okay, he would have escaped to New Zealand, but would he have really? Like,
yeah,
would he have been able to uh
yeah,
initiate himself into civilian life? I don't think so. I think
yeah, I don't know.
I think this is the ending that was meant for Neil.
Yeah, for sure. Like, he always, because even if he does want to adapt, like, there is no guarantee that it's like essentially what you're saying, if it's going to work out or not. Like, for all we know, had he gone to New Zealand, he probably would have picked up scores there, and the whole cycle would just repeat over and over again, like an Ouroboros. So, but yeah, so he goes to the motel where Wingro is at, turns on the fire alarm, goes up to his apartment. I fucking love the bit where he's like, look at me,
Yeah.
look at me, and he fucking
Shoots him.
shoots him between the eyes. So good. And he's like cross-eyed, like, dude, so good. I know I've been saying that a lot, but like,
Well, it is a good movie.
honestly, yes. Yeah. Honestly, that's really all I can say at this point. But
Yeah.
I'll try. But
No, but and like we were saying earlier, this is the scene where he's about to go back to Edie, and then he just walks away from her
he bounces, yeah.
because
And
Pacino's coming after him. And again, like he's been saying the whole movie, don't attach yourself to anything that you're not willing to drop in
yeah,
30 seconds. Walks
yeah.
away completely. That's
And I think even like in the diner scene, like there's a line of dialogue when Pacino's like, if you ever leave or something between the lines of that, like if you ever leave an innocent woman or put her between in a situation where, you know, you get what I'm saying, right?
who says that? Pacino?
Yeah, Pacino. Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. But what I like about that scene in particular is that there's so many moments. Like even after he fucked up and decided to go, kill off Waingro, there's this brief window of time where this big ass fire truck shows up between them, and theoretically he could get into the car and drive away. Like, yeah, it could be kind of hard with Vincent tailing him, but he could get away with her in that situation. But at that point, he just sticks to his gun,
He sticks to his
sticks to
guns.
what and what he's been telling himself for all we know of his life, and just runs away from it all. And honestly, there's been moments where, again, kind of relating this to myself, where I've been in similar situations where I just have something I want to say, and I just don't. I walk away or run away. So again, just the way they juxtapose it, it's brilliant.
Hey, we've
So
all been
yeah,
there. We've all been there.
we've all been there.
We've left our girlfriends at the hotel after we just assassinated some guy.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess that brings us to the final confrontation
In an
at the
airport
runway.
field. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Tense.
Yeah. Insane. No music, just ambient noise.
Yeah.
From the background, the planes, taking off, coming down, the lights coming on and off, all the shadows.
The lights which De Niro tries to use to his advantage, but then
his fucking shadow.
But then his fucking shadow, and Pacino uses it instead to his advantage. It's like,
yeah,
it's so good. Which
so good.
I remembered the ending wrong. I was like, I thought I remembered Pacino getting shot in this movie, but no.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I completely messed that up. But yeah, no, De Niro gets shot, which again makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense that De Niro gets shot, but that
and that it all comes full circle with his line, "I told you, I'm never coming back."
Yeah,
and he says, "Yeah," and then got that brilliant final shot of they're holding hands, and he's just looking out on the runway. Cut to black. Directed by Michael Mann.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect ending. To this movie.
Perfect ending.
It's just a perfect movie, almost. Well, so I was thinking about this. It's like, is this?
Yeah, I noticed you got it at like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right now.
I think.
What are your problems?
I think one of my little nitpicks I was thinking about while watching it was when there's that scene where Pacino comes home and his wife's like making breakfast, and there's just a random dude in his living room, and it's insinuating, oh, they fucked. And he goes, well, first of all, it's funny that he goes up to that guy. He's just like, listen, you can come into my house, you can fuck my wife, but you cannot watch my television set, which is funny.
Yeah.
But then, and I get the idea of the wife being like, oh, I'm blaming you for this. Like, this is your fault that I cheated on you. It's like, well, no, you still cheated on him. Like, you're still a filthy whore. But,
Yeah.
but,
I think with the circumstances that their marriage is like
yeah.
pretty much at a breaking point at this point.
No,
Like,
it is.
yeah, it's a shitty thing to do, but realistically, these things happen all the time.
Yeah, but
You
again,
know?
it's the wife making that choice. But I
Yeah.
feel like the movie understands that. And
Yeah.
I do like that she is the one who makes that choice and yet still tries to blame Vincent on it, but it's like, no, that's your own fault, lady. So you know
Yeah.
what? I think it is just like this is a 3-hour film and there's a lot to it. I
Yeah.
would not cut a single thing. I feel like this is just something I
What
need to
about
watch over and over.
oh fuck, we haven't even talked about her Natalie Portman's character.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
teenager, the suicide,
Teenager.
dies of sadness.
Suicide.
She doesn't die of sadness in this one,
No, she doesn't die at all.
like she did as Amidala in
Yes.
but no, so no,
Vincent, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't.
I'm a senator.
I'm a senator.
No, I liked Natalie Portman. I think she
Yeah.
is used very sparingly,
Yeah.
but I think that is
I think-
intentional because she's not the main focus. You don't understand what she's going through. And so then when Vincent finds her in his hotel room, it does come as a shock because it's like, oh, I didn't
Well,
see that
I even
coming.
like how they kind of foreshadow that when he walks in, you see, like, again, another
Mhm.
detail I completely overlooked. When he walks in, you see the water dripping out
Yeah.
onto the carpet. Like, you're like, oh shit, like, who the fuck's in there? And then he walks in and it's his daughter or stepdaughter, you know, just covered in blood, cuts on her arm and legs, and it's just like, oh god,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no,
But
it's great. It's great. It comes as a shock. It doesn't come across as like
exploitative
no,
or
not
you
at
know,
all. Like
or in poor taste.
it's handled
No.
very well. And I like when Pacino like runs in with her and he's just like, I need you to do this, this, and this. So like he
Like, get a paramedic.
get a paramedic. Like he's still in control. He's still trying to be
Yeah.
in control, even though that's his stepdaughter. Like that just shows you like how committed of a workaholic he is, essentially.
Right, yeah. That's great. But even just like the smaller moments with her, like at the very beginning, like when I first watched the movies originally, one of my main, I guess, critiques on it was like the scene where she's like, "Mom, I can't find my berets. Like, I'm looking all over for it." But I think looking back on it now, I think it kind of really perfectly showcases what kind of person like she is. Like, obviously, you know, she's young and puts a lot of, you know, of herself into her personal belongings, but it also shows that, you know, she does have this like insecurity and sort of anxiety to her, and I think that's a very interesting.
She's obsessed over this one thing, just like
this
the main
one little
characters.
thing.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
harkens back to
There
that
you go.
thematic.
Yeah.
So you know what? I do think upon rewatch I'll probably raise this up. I think it's just it's sitting at a very comfortable like high 9. So
yeah,
that's
like
the thing.
personally, honestly, when I watched it originally, I gave it like, you know, an 8 out of 10. Like there were
So you hated
aspects
it.
yes, of course, I fucking despised it. But no. Again, there were aspects I enjoyed about it, but I guess I wasn't really in the right mood. And obviously, for a movie like this, you kind of gotta, you know, lock in, so to speak.
Yeah. You need to give this your full attention, which duh, you need to give your full attention to every movie, but you know.
Yeah, you know, this one especially.
Yes.
This one especially. But honestly, man, the more I think about it, the more I love it. Like, even just
so good.
Theoretically, I could nitpick at little itty bitty things here and there. It's like, dude, does any of that fucking matter? Like, really?
Yeah.
You know?
It's such a fantastically influential film. Like, again, we say like The Dark Knight, like, but you can see all the films that inspired besides that. Just there's a lot of films are inspired by this film. Like, it's I feel,
pretty much
Any
pretty
crime
much like
thriller of the
every
past 20
crime
years.
movie
Yeah.
of the past few decades, or 2-3 decades, like owes
Yeah.
its existence to it, you
Yeah.
know. So
I
yeah,
feel like moving forward, whenever I hear the words crime thriller, I'm gonna instantly think of Heat because
yeah,
it's one of those like
it's so
genre
good.
defining films.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Um, one more thing I want to touch upon. I guess we can talk about the dinner scene now. I know we've talked about everything, but like you said, it's sort of the antithesis
yeah.
of this entire movie. There's this one bit that might be my favorite piece of dialogue, aside from, the I am when I'm always, chasing or whatever, or I told you I'm never coming back, is
Or
the
the she's
scene
got a
where they're
great
talking
ass.
about, yes, of course. Well, that's the highlight.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. But, but it's the scene where they're talking about, their dreams.
Mm.
That where Vincent, he describes it as, in a reoccurring dream he sees all of the people of all of the, homicide victims he's seen, and they're just kind of standing there looking at themselves, looking at him. They're not saying a word. And then you have Neil, whose dreams that he's drowning and he's running out of time before he eventually, runs out of oxygen,
Yeah.
which of course is, kind of foreshadowing, what happens
Yeah.
in the end for him. He's out of time, but I don't know. Just point being, there's millions of things we could talk about this movie. It's amazing. For any of those watching, if you haven't seen it, well, first of all, what the fuck are you doing watching this podcast? But if you have stuck around and you are interested, I can't recommend it enough. It's surely a new favorite.
So good.
For me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's literally like just amazing. It's worth the hype. It's so worth the hype. Like it's one of those films
Absolutely.
where I first watched it, I'm like, is it worth the hype? And I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah. And then I watch it again and I'm like, oh, it hits even harder.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it needs
Yeah.
to be seen to
Yeah.
be believed. It's that good.
Right. And as I said earlier, as soon as we're done recording this, I'm gonna hop on Amazon and I'm gonna get myself a copy because,
DVD,
so
Blu-ray, 4K, occasional VHS tape. It doesn't matter. It looks good in all forms. I haven't seen it on VHS.
It's
though.
Heat. Wow. Yeah. I'm actually kind of curious how it looks. I'm also interested in checking out. Now I'm not sure if you might have heard like little snippets of this, but this isn't actually the first time Michael Mann tried to adapt this crime epic. He actually tried it in the 80s. Turns out there's actually a failed TV pilot called LA Takedown, which is based off an early treatment of the same script. So some of the character names are different. Obviously, instead of, big Hollywood A-listers, they're played by, a bunch of TV nobodies.
Oh, Daniel Baldwin's in this. And Michael Rooker.
Okay. Apparently.
Oh. And Xander Berkeley's in it. He plays Wangro, and he was Ralph, the guy that Vincent Hanna's wife fucks. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Wow. Okay.
Like,
so yeah, maybe there's some connection.
Yeah, I just found this. It's from 1989. It's on Tubi. Not Tubi.
Hey, Tubi.
It's not on Tubi. It's not on Tubi.
Man.
No, for whatever reason, I tried to say Letterboxd, and then I replaced it with Tubi, which, again, Tubi's always on the brain, but not in this case.
All right. Well, you were going to give me another Tubi, I was going to say it's another, Tubi W.
I know, but hey,
they already got enough dubs.
They have so many dubs. They have very little L's, so it's okay.
Yes. So yeah, I'd be curious on checking that out eventually. Might be interesting to kind of see how they compare and contrast. I mean, obviously LA Takedown's probably the superior movie.
Well, the fact that
but
nobody talks about it, yeah, that's how you
yeah,
know something is actually good,
yeah.
as if nobody's
Heat
talking about
fucking
it.
overrated as hell.
Yeah, exactly. Shitty movie, I gotta say. It's
Any movie. 0 out of 10.
yeah, -1 out of 10.
-1. -10 out of
-10.
10.
So
Ah,
yeah, great
yes.
film. I'm keeping this 4K. No duh. Just
As you
because
should.
it's
As you should.
so good. Such an easy decision for the collection.
Right. Any cool bonus features?
Uh,
Director's commentary?
yeah, it looks like
Anything
it.
like that?
I didn't watch any of them just because I just wanted to watch the film itself. But yeah, no, you know what? On the extra Blu-ray disc, I got to see this Q&A with Christopher Nolan. I need to see what that's all about.
All right. Hey, if it's a YouTube upload, I'll be sure to check it out myself.
Yeah, there's probably got
Yeah.
to be stuff like that on YouTube,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just about it. I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now, see if I can, find any more fun facts, tidbits before we can, wrap up. Yeah, it says, oh, look at this. Highly influential to the Grand Theft Auto series.
No.
Unsurprising.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, no. I mean, GTA 5 is pretty much the plot of Heat in a sense.
Yeah.
Very similar. Oh yeah, that's right. Apparently Man is also kind of sort of wants to make a sequel, prequel thing to the movie, which like
absolutely the fuck not.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
Look, I get it. Man, yeah, I'm Man. He obviously is the original
My
creator.
Man.
Yeah, my Man. He obviously is the original creator, so he can do whatever he wants with it. But, dude,
I don't know, man.
No, I have no confidence. I have no confidence in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So sorry to be cynical, but like, no way, no fucking way.
No.
You cannot.
You already struck gold once.
Yeah.
It rarely comes twice.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No matter who's behind.
I mean, you can try it. You can try it.
You can certainly try it, but
you can certainly try. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't see any other angle you can take this story at. Like, you had a perfect beginning, a perfect middle, a perfect end. Any more information would just muddy the waters and make it unnecessary.
But yeah, hey, if it ever does get made, though, at least it won't shit on the legacy of the original, or at least I hope it won't. But
I mean,
I don't know.
But at least we'll make a pretty good episode out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you'll have to get me back on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. All right, man. Well, I don't know. I think we've pretty much covered the whole board here.
I think so.
Is there anything else you wanna say, or?
No, are you kidding? With the rate of the episode lengths, we could go another hour.
Yeah, man. Let's just let's stretch it out. I don't know, maybe 2-4 more hours.
Yeah, 2, 6,
talk about
17.
Yeah, how about we analyze like how much coke is on Tony's desk, or the brilliant writing and nuance behind Al Pacino's Vincent Hanna's being the greatness of him being an ass man.
Yeah,
which honestly is based. Pretty based.
I have a better idea. Why don't you shout out your stuff, dude? Where can people find you?
Yeah. Okay. So, I am a Letterboxd user, unfortunately.
Gross. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I am ashamed. I talk to myself in the shower every day. Like, why did I make that? Why did I make that? It's eating me up inside. But yeah, if you really want to add salt in the wound for me, you can follow my Letterboxd. It should be in the description below. And if you want to validate my shitty movie opinions, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a follow. But yeah, that's that.
That's that.
All right. Well, thank you, Hal, for having me on. It was a real pleasure talking about these great movies with you. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, no, it was great. I'm glad we talked about these movies. I'm glad we talked about a movie from 1995 on episode 95 of the podcast. Isn't that worked out that way?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect timing.
I planned it all from the beginning.
Aha.
No, I'm just
But
kidding.
who's to say?
It was a happy coincidence.
Yeah. But who's to say I didn't plan it?
Oh.
Maybe I'm just playing the fool here, but nah. I don't know.
You were the Palpatine.
Happy coincidence. I was the Jar Jar. Man. I was the Jar Jar. The true mastermind behind everything.
The Jar Jar of too many movies.
That's the moniker I want to go by from now on.
We're not going to top Jar Jar of too many movies, so let's just end it there. All right, thank you, everybody. Right. Bye-bye.